You had a lot of success as a team during your time as a Bronco. Big win at Florida State, conference championships. But take us back to your freshman year. And now, if you watch a Chargers game, do you just immediately think of your 53-yard interception return against Justin Herbert while he's playing on Sundays? And walk me through that play and how you view it maybe differently today now that he's an all-pro caliber quarterback.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Neat Conversations, where you get to see some of your favorite all-time Broncos enjoy a flight of whiskeys while talking about the good old days. Neat Conversations is sponsored by Horseshoe Spirits, the nation's first collegiate spirits line. In addition to the collective's bourbon, Horseshoe Spirits also produces gin, rum, and vodka, with proceeds from all sales going to the Horseshoe Collective in support of student-athletes' NIL efforts in partnerships with local community organizations. On today's show, we're talking with the prototypical Boise State football standout. Maybe a bit undersized, a bit under-recruited, but someone who came to Boise State and made an impact on day one, leaving the program having played in 60 games over his career, a team captain, and an incredible success story off the field as well. From leaving the warm shores of Hawaii for an official visit to Boise during Snowmageddon, to intercepting Justin Herbert in a bowl game, and commercial real estate in the Treasure Valley, we really talk about it all. Kekaula Kaniho is truly one of a kind, and we know you'll love hearing more about his story.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of Neat Conversations presented by Horseshoe Spirits. Today, Kekaula Kaniho, the most difficult name to pronounce so far on the show, and I don't even know that I'm doing it correctly. So if you would, how do you actually say your name?
Yep.
And what are some of the terrible pronunciations you've heard throughout the years?
Yeah, that's always the first question, especially nowadays and taking phone calls or reaching out to people. They'll call and they'll be like, "Can you say it first?" It's like, "Yeah, sure." So it's K, like the letter, cow, like the animal that you get milk from, la, Kekaula.
Okay, so Joe Nichols, right?
Yeah.
Because he's always said Kekaula. I thought the cow was more of a ka, but here we go. I'm learning as we record this.
Kaula.
Here we go.
Kekaula.
Kekaula.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then when you say it that way, it's like, oh, wait, that's actually not that hard.
Right.
Yeah.
We just simplify it, break it down phonetically. Kekaula. I like it. All right. And last name?
Kaniho. Kaniho.
Perfect.
Sounds pretty easy.
Easy enough. What's the worst you've heard?
I remember, I didn't hear it specifically, but my family told me that whoever the commentator was, I don't want to call out the Boise State commentator, but like the first 2 or 3 years of my career was not great. It was pretty bad. And they were like, wait, he's been playing for a couple years now. Like, we should probably get this one right. And I can't even tell you what that was. So call my parents and ask them the question. But K koala is what I get a lot of times because it sounds
Koala.
similar there, and people know koala, so it ends up going there.
Has that affected your view of the koala bear?
Has not, no. But I don't know if we have the same personality, if you ask me. Yeah. But I have to come up with a different takeout name when I'm going to take a to-go order and put one in over the phone.
What do you put down?
So I roll with Buddy. And then they'll be like, Buddy? And I'm like, yeah, Buddy.
So how often are you calling yourself Buddy on these takeout orders? And what's the response? Do people believe you?
Yeah, every time. Whether I'm at the counter and they're like, can we get a name for the order? Buddy. And then when people hear it for the first time, they're like, wait, what? And then I'm like, I'm going to think about it. They're like, yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. Or if I'm on the phone, can I get a name for the order? It's all, like every time, Buddy.
Incredible. Yeah. I wouldn't have even thought of that. But yeah, that takes out the awkward conversation. How do you spell it?
Yep.
Yeah, fair.
Because I've had, when I first moved here, I never had to think about that. And so I was always just like, say my name, Kaula, Kekaula. And then I'd say it enough times and they'd be like, Carlos? I'm like, yeah, I'll just be Carlos for my Starbucks order. Like, yeah, medium Americano for Carlos.
You would have to be very understanding once you moved here because I'm sure just butchered your name left and right, for better or for worse. Fair. Okay. So Kekaula, let the record show. We got it. Before this, we're talking, you're not a big whiskey guy, so I applaud you for being here. Most of the folks we've had so far really enjoy whiskey, so this is not new for them. For you, if you were to describe what whiskey tastes like for you today, How would you describe it to somebody that's never heard of it?
I would say it's like a smoky, like barbecue grill, to be honest with you. Like there's
Fair.
a lot of smoke behind it. And I'm like, when you open the barbecue grill and it's like just that smoke smell and taste in your mouth, it's like kind of what bourbon tastes like to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we'll give you a little bit of an idea of what whiskey is, what it can be. The first one's super exciting from Horseshoe Spirits, which is our title sponsor. The first pour is from Simmons Fine Jewelry, a group that has been well in on the NIL front, supporting student athletes at Boise State since day one. It is the Collective's Bourbon. So what this is a wheated bourbon, and
Wheated or
wheated, like the
Wheated.
grain
Okay.
wheat, like what you would make bread out of.
Yep.
So it all comes down to the mash bill and how these things are built when they're distilled. It's got to be a lot of corn for bourbon, and then it can be rye, it can be a single malt, it can be wheat. This is a wheated bourbon. That tends to be a little bit sweeter on the palate. This is right around 100 proof, and it's a very good whiskey to start out with.
Okay.
I'm excited for you to try it.
Yep.
It's obviously something that supports Boise State student athletes like you once were. So I feel like inherently you're going to enjoy it. But our first one, the Collective's Bourbon.
For me, is
cheers.
that
Left to right. Left to right.
perfect.
Cheers.
I'm looking for sweetness here.
I think every bourbon you try is going to have a certain amount of sweetness to it. There's also, like you said, there is a campfire component to it because it's coming from a charred barrel. But
That was good.
there you
I mean,
go.
like in other ones that I've tasted or tried before, it feels like the smoke right off the bat. I feel like this one had something else to start and then more smoky after taste and flavor.
And you're going to get that throughout all sorts of bourbons in your journey. My goal when you leave here today is for you to say, I might order a bourbon the next time I go to a restaurant or
Okay.
bar. And there's so many layers to it. I think the nice thing about bourbon is it's very sweet
Mm-hmm.
compared to maybe a scotch. A scotch oftentimes is just like drinking a leather boot that's been in a fire for 10 hours.
Sure.
Bourbon tends to be a little bit sweeter. You're getting a lot of the flavor from the charred oak barrel. You get some
Yep.
vanilla notes, some caramel notes. So a lot of good stuff. And again, drink as much or as little as you want.
Okay.
We'll guide you through all of it, but I applaud you for trying some new stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get into your career. And I think for a lot of people that have never been to Hawaii, they've never been there on Friday nights, they equate high school football to Texas.
Mhm.
Hawaii Friday Night Lights is a big deal in itself that maybe goes underappreciated. So you're growing up in Kahuku. Tell me about what it was like being a football player on the islands.
Yeah. No, it was definitely an experience that I think if people haven't been to Hawaii or at least tuned in to what our football does, it's in a lot of ways our life because it's a small island with, some people see it as minimal opportunity. And so being a young person there's no professional sports teams. So as a young boy like I was growing up there, born and raised, your superstars and your athletes that you look up to are your high school's football players. And when people ask you in Hawaii, what school did you go to? They're not asking you what college you graduated from. They're asking you what high school you went to. And then, from there goes the conversation of, well, I went to this high school. I was these years. We played against so-and-so. And it always comes back to the football thing or the sports. And I think we're very prideful people. And so a lot of our generations and families have been in communities that they've been in for 4, 5, 6 generations. So there's a lot of history and pride that gets built up behind that. And I think you can see it show up in football because of how hard people play for their high schools and then the name on their back and representing their family. And so for me, I sort of followed that same trajectory and was asking for the high school players' autographs after games. And that was the most important thing for me. There wasn't going to UH games and doing the same things. It was like Kahuku football. These are my favorite players, and I just want to throw the ball around like them and get their autographs. So it's a special place that I think if you've never experienced it, when you go there, you'll understand why that is. And I hope that background to it gives you some insight into what our experience was like.
Tell me about Kahuku. What was the identity of that town and that high school program?
Yeah, so small public school on the North Shore of Oahu, and our graduating class was only about 200 kids. So small in comparison to the rest of the island, where a lot of the other schools were maybe 400, 500, 600, up to 800 kids. So small graduating class, small school, but it was comprised of a long coastline, sort of the north down to the east side of the island. And it's just a lot of small towns right along the coast. And so back to the family thing, when I went and played there, I was a third generation Kaniho to play there. And so when the announcers were calling my name, the next name they called, Santiago or Botello or all these guys, Ahoy, like these were all families where our dads played together and our grandparents played together. And so for me, it was awesome to sort of live out that legacy as like the next one to do it. And I took a lot of pride in that and knew that I was playing for something bigger than myself. And it was awesome to feel that support and love being in that community where it's so small and tight knit, and literally everything shuts down on game days and everybody's going to the game. And when you drive down the stretch right before the school, there's the banners and the posters with the players in their jerseys and the colors, and you drive by the ranch that's right there, and all the horses are painted with the Kahuku red or the K on it, and they've got red and white braids through their, their mane or their tail. So it's a special place and something that I didn't take for granted, and definitely felt very blessed to be a part of and just be another Kanihoan generation there. So it's gonna be fun to see who the next ones are.
It was a big deal to grow up there, to play at that high school, and then at some point, you hear of Boise, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first connection to Boise to where you thought, maybe I should pay a little more attention to this location?
Yeah, it was interesting. They were actually the last offer that I got in order of schools that gave me an opportunity. And I think it was because they took the most amount of time to do their due diligence and really learn and understand who I was and why I would be a good fit. And when the offer came through, I was very appreciative for it. And the first thing you think, obviously, is the blue field, right? I had no idea where Boise was. I didn't know Boise was in Idaho, and I didn't know where Idaho was either. Until I looked at my plane ticket to come on my official visit and found out that it was going to be 5 degrees, because it was the snowmageddon year when I came on my official visit.
It's a tough time to do your official visit.
Yeah, but I knew the field was blue. I knew they had beaten Oklahoma, and I remember watching that game as a young elementary school kid. And I knew that the program was built on maybe overlooked, undersized guys that weren't recruited the same way by other schools, but knew that they could star in a role here, and have an actual opportunity to contribute to the team. So I came into it at least knowing, hey, there could be something here for a guy like myself who wasn't, the biggest, fastest, or strongest out of high school. So
tell me about those first impressions. You mentioned you knew the blue turf. That's either loved or hated by everyone in the country, so you were aware of it. You didn't know it was in Idaho. You didn't know anything about the city of Boise. You're coming over for your official visit. What was your view of Boise prior to getting here, and then how did that shift once you actually arrived and got to experience the city?
Yeah, I would say I came with just the excitement to learn about the place. I mean, I knew that there was success here, looking back at the Fiesta Bowls and the games that were won. And then I had watched, obviously, Boise when I was finishing up high school, because I was like, hey, these guys offered me, it might be a place that I want to go. So I saw success already, and I saw a winning program. And I was excited about that because the high school program, Kahuku, that I just came from, it was the same expectation of you're in the state championship game and winning it, or it was a terrible year for us and we need to figure out what went wrong. And so I was excited to just see, okay, it's going to be fun to go to a new place that I've never been before. I had my parents with me, and I wanted to see sort of where that success came from. And then when I got here, I would say it was validated and then some, because I didn't realize there was going to be so many similarities to where I grew up on, a small town side of the island, where it was small high school, like I said, but really big family, right? And a culture that embraced hey, we don't need to be blood related, but we're going to take care of everybody in that same way. And family's a big deal for us, and taking care of our people, taking pride in our place, and putting your nose down and working hard and earning whatever you get. And so when I came here, I could see, wow, the players, the coaches, the community. We walked around downtown. We were staying at the Grove. We went to go grab coffee just right downstairs, and we had the blue pullovers on, and people stopped us. They'd be like, "Hey, go Broncos!" Like, what are you guys here for? And as soon as they find out you're here for football and official visit, they would just be filled with so much joy and excitement to share about how much they love the university and the school and the program, and that's what they love supporting and what everything shuts down here for. So I started to get the sense and the feel that a lot of things were going to line up to how I grew up. And then, like, back to the coaches have done their due diligence thing. I feel like, knew me the best as a person and as a player. The staff really knew what my interests were, what I wanted to study, how I was as a student, what the plan was for me as a football player and fitting into the defense and having an opportunity to play and contribute. So I felt good about, hey, I at least know I have a fair shot and an opportunity here with people who know who I am and have a plan for what that looks like. And of course, I want to be someplace that wins and does it the right way and recruits guys who are going to be a part of that, and where the culture is what makes the place and the people are a part of that. So it ended up being above and beyond what I initially thought, and seeing so many more similarities.
That's amazing. And I love that there were more similarities between Hawaii and Idaho than you might have thought. But I'll put you on the spot here. What is one thing Hawaii does far better than Idaho? And what is one thing Idaho does far better than Hawaii?
I would say right now, Hawaii does far better with food. I think we've got a lot more diversity in what our cultures and foods are there. Our pokés, our Korean food, our Chinese food, like, there's a melting pot and blend of cultures there. And so when I moved here, that was the thing where I was like, oh gosh, I'm missing the food, you know. But I'd say Idaho does a better job of, for me, there's a lot of opportunity here, and the reason that there is that is because of the people that make this place, and there's so many people here who are aligned and going in the right direction. And so when you go back home, it starts to almost be like crabs in a bucket a little bit. It's almost like the island gets really small really fast. But here it feels like there's the community that's small, but there's still so much abundance in how people treat each other and take care of the place and the opportunities that come with that. Yeah, and that's a lot of the reason why I stayed here, was for those opportunities and for the people.
Tell me about food. I'm a big food guy. Love Hawaiian food. I've been to the islands, and unbelievable food. You're absolutely right. Boise has gotten so much better over the years. Like, I think there's some phenomenal restaurants in Boise. But if there's one type of food you would like to see more invested in the Treasure Valley, what is that type of food and why?
I would say probably Japanese food. Like, I feel like we could use a really good Japanese steakhouse, like authentic Japanese restaurant. And it's really healthy, clean food. It's fishes and good proteins mixed in with seasoned and like pickled vegetables. But I feel like for me, it's something that I could eat every day. So if there was a good one here, I'd go there a bunch. And yeah, love the Japanese influence on Hawaii and how much that bleeds into what the culture is like there.
We'll get into Japan a little later because I know
Yeah.
you've been there. I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear about it. But we'll go back to your football career at Boise State. I had the pleasure of covering your entire career at Boise State on every road trip. I think one of my favorite clips I've ever gotten as a videographer was you during warm-ups at BYU when it was a big win. And the mark of this shot that I remember the most is your eye black was always very intense, very intimidating. You're not the biggest guy, but the eye black was always very intimidating. So to me, I'm curious, what is the mark of an effective eye black for football, and why do it in the first place?
Yeah. For me, it was putting on, it was flipping the switch, I'd say. It was not time to be the nice, polite guy. It was, okay, we're ready to go into battle here. And so it was like putting on a warrior's, cape and grabbing your weapon and getting ready to go out. It was more of a mentality shift for me than anything. I don't know if there's any science anymore behind eye black and keeping light out of your eye or from refracting or whatever. But for me, it was a mentality of, okay, we're going into battle and I've prepared for this battle. And now it's time for me to look at the other guy across the line for me and know that it's going to be a competition to see who has prepared better and who is showing up for the moment better. So I mixed them up over my career. I did crosses sometimes. I did 2 lines down. I did lines all the way across my face. There wasn't for me any superstition of like, okay, it has to be this way or it's not going to go well. But just whatever I was feeling that week or for what the moment called for or what the attitude was going into that, I tried to reflect that in the eye black.
Love it. We'll move on to our next whiskey here, which is Basil Hayden. So when Joe Nickel of the Horseshoe Collective was curating this flight for you, as someone who doesn't drink a lot of whiskey, I think this is kind of the ideal next step. A lot of people start with whiskeys, whiskey Coke, whiskey 7 and 7, whatever it might be. Basil Hayden is 80 proof, so it's going to be a little less strong than the Horseshoe Collective bourbon. It's going to be sweet, going to be real nice, easy to drink. And this was one of the first whiskeys I had that I was like, oh, that's a next step up in flavor and class without being an overly expensive bottle. So Basil Hayden is next up.
Okay, here we
Cheers,
go.
enjoy.
Cheers.
Right off the
I've
bat,
never experienced sweet bourbons before, so having it's kind of fun.
you can get well in the weeds on flavor notes and profiles, and I think a lot of people will drink a spirit and be like, it just tastes like whiskey. I don't know what to tell you, which is completely valid. It also helps to have some notes ahead of time, right? Like, what does the manufacturer say it should taste like? So I'll read you the manufacturer's notes here on Basil Hayden. It says, sweet brown sugar, vanilla caramel, and dried fruit with a touch of black pepper. Do you get any of those?
I got all of them. Yeah, the whole time. That one was kind of fun because it didn't feel like there was a big aftertaste. It was kind of like the same throughout the whole.
And I think a lot of
taste.
That's the low proof. That 80 proof is pretty low, which makes
Yep.
it easy to drink. It's not going to give you that Kentucky hug where it feels like it's burning all the way down, but it's a good flavor profile, fun to drink. I'll always enjoy
Definitely got
Basil
vanilla
Hayden.
and cinnamon in that.
There you go. Look at you. You're well on your way to
Connoisseur.
hosting your own bourbon show, talking about all the spirits you taste. Kekaula, we'll go back to freshman year. And we talked about it a little bit. You felt like you really identified with the underdog, maybe undersized, underappreciated stereotype that Boise State had won a lot of football games with. You come in, admittedly, not the biggest safety in the recruiting class or on the team. You play right away as a true freshman. What allowed you to do that, despite maybe not having the physical attributes that most true freshmen have when they start playing right away?
Yeah, I came into it understanding and knowing that. Going through the recruiting process, it was apparent that wasn't going to be the case, and some schools made it more apparent than others. But I grew up playing quarterback and safety, so for as long as I could just do both through Pop Warner, and really up until high school is when I then made the decision, okay, I'm going all in on the defensive side. But I played quarterback my whole life. And doing that, I had great coaches and my dad and my uncle Brian Ayat, whose son is playing at Montana right now as the quarterback. And so he was actually my quarterback coach when we were growing up because him and my dad are best friends.
As someone who covered the Grizz, that's an incredible name to be associated with.
Yep. And so he was never Brian Ayat to me. It was always just Uncle Brian. And you hear stories about when they played back in the day, but now looking back where I have perspective on it, it's like, yeah, that guy was
a big deal.
Was the guy. And
yeah.
You see clips of him and you hear the stories. And So I got very fortunate that he was on staff with my dad, and they coached us from t-ball to football through all the stuff. So he was always a part of my journey, and he and my dad actually went to bats about my football career and trajectory. And Uncle Brian was like, he is going to play quarterback. He's a quarterback. And my dad's like, he's not 6'4", and so he's not going to play quarterback, and he's not going to fit that mold. Now, can he go play defensive back at 5'10"? Yes, he's going to go play safety. But all that to say, from a young age, I was coached and mentored by those guys, learned a ton, and they kind of put the ball in my court and said, okay, let's see how much he can learn and take leadership of the offense. And when I was in elementary school, I was calling plays on some drives, but it's because they taught me the game from a quarterback perspective. And so for me, it was not just throw the ball to the open guy. It was, okay, let's try to identify what different coverages are. If there's two safeties high, what's the weakness in a cover two defense, right? You either hit the middle of the field or you find the honey hole on the sidelines. What's the beater of a cover three defense? You hit the seam shots, and here's where the weaknesses are. And when you get this coverage, this is where the ball is going. This is why the progressions are the way that they are. So I learned that playing quarterback. And so I came into the defensive side of it already thinking like the other guy on the other side of the ball and where the ball is going and why it's going there. So it made it easier for me to translate what was happening on the play sheet and how the play was being called and what the techniques were to actually executing that. And coming in my freshman year here, I knew that that was going to be my strength. I knew there was going to be guys that were faster than me and bigger than me and stronger than me, but I made it a point to be the most prepared and the smartest guy on the field for what I could control. So I got in July and spent 4 weeks of training also in the film room. DeAndre Pierce was a huge help for me, and Evan Tyler and Jordan Happel and Kekaula Navahine and Coach Avalos and Coach Danielson and Coach Franklin. Like, there were so many people. I'm not going to sit here and say that I did it all myself, but they taught me how to watch film and they taught me what to look for. And they sat with me there and helped me bring it from watching it on tape with them to on the field and just stepping into practice with the confidence that I've seen it a lot of times, and I know that I'm making the right call because of that. And if not, I can still try to get us in the right situation if we weren't prepared for it, and then roll from there.
You had a lot of good quarterbacks you played with during your time, whether it was Brett Rippon to start, but throughout that time, there were also injuries to the starting quarterback. Did you ever offer up your services as a scout team quarterback to the coaches, and how was that received if you did?
I did not, because Chase Cord was my roommate, and I'm like, if somebody's going to get the call, it's going to be that guy. Now, will I sit here with him and give him advice on what to do? 100%. Am I also going to ask for what play they're coming out with to start practice? 100%. So that was always fun. He was my roommate all through college. So I never made the ask, but it was fun to be around him and talk ball at home and show him a film clip when I ended up intercepting him, or he would show me something when he got me. So it's all the fun parts of having roommates and going through it with the boys.
You had a lot of success as a team during your time as a Bronco. Big win at Florida State, conference championships. But take us back to your freshman year. And now, if you watch a Chargers game, do you just immediately think of your 53-yard interception return against Justin Herbert while he's playing on Sundays? And walk me through that play and how you view it maybe differently today, now that he's an all-pro caliber quarterback.
Yeah, well, watching those games now, I'm actually a fan of football, which is fun and something that I've never gotten to do before. So I definitely enjoy the game from that perspective. And sometimes people who know that play happened will be like tapping their friend on the couch, like, do you know this guy picked that guy off for a touchdown? And it's something that we laugh about now. But yeah, that game at the end of that year for me was sort of the cherry on top, because I felt like I had a good freshman season where I was able to contribute maybe more than even I thought coming into it, and found success with the opportunities that I was given. So that game coming off of a championship and beating Fresno that year. It was like, okay, now we get to go and play with the big boys in a sense, coming out of the Pac-12. And finish this thing off. So I felt like that game was one where I was just having fun and enjoying being out there, and was prepared and got to go through the bowl game experience and, do the bowl suite and have my family there. So when the play happened, it wasn't like I was doing anything out of the ordinary. It felt like it was just like, hey, we're playing, we're flowing. And um, credit to a lot of different guys on that play, but I think Leighton was the one who chased him down and made him sort of throw the ball uncomfortably early. And I was just in a position to see that happen from where I was at on the field and go to where the ball was instead of going to where the guy was, where the ball was not going. And yeah, I caught it and just took it down the sideline. And next thing I know, I was in the end zone celebrating.
It's truly one of my favorite photos I've ever seen. John Kelly, longtime Boise State photographer, unbelievably talented. There's the shot that's still on the Boise State website today. That's you returning the pick. And Mario Cristobal, who's now at Miami, competing for a national title. It's against their sideline. You can see everyone following you, and Cristobal's looking the opposite direction, just angry. And it's unbelievable. So if you haven't seen that, go find it.
I don't know if I have.
Make a printout, put it on your wall. It's one of the best photos we've gotten over the last couple of years, but very, very apt to today. I do want to ask you about the non-football side of being a student athlete. You were a 4-time All-Mountain West scholar. Clearly, academics was something you took seriously. Why was that so important to you, and what did you enjoy about the academic experience of being a student athlete?
Yeah, I think that came from my parents and them prioritizing that school was always going to be important. We were never allowed to miss school really for any reason unless we were sick and couldn't go in. And so they were always like, nope, if you can go to school, you're going to school. It's important. You don't just not show up for that stuff. And at some point, you're not going to have sports. And one time I remember in elementary, I was screwing around not doing the project or assignment like a lot of kids do and procrastinating on it. And my parents were like, you haven't worked on this at all for all the weeks you've had it. If you don't get an A on this, you're not playing baseball. And that to me set my world into a spiral of like, okay, this is going to be an A project because I'm not playing baseball. So there are just little, cues and things over the years where I was like, no, this is important. And I need to do this to be able to also play sports. And then I had great teachers all through my education and experience, both elementary, high school, college even. And learning for me was always fun just because I think I'm curious about a lot of things. So like being here for this is great because learning something new and experiencing something and curious how the bourbon thing goes. But just the curiosity to learn about different things and sort of grow and challenge myself in that way. And I think it ties back into what made me successful in football and the intelligence and like curiosity of why is something happening? Why is the quarterback throwing it there? Why is the receiver doing this? And so it all sort of blended as one. And obviously with the reality that football would end at some point. And for me, the goal was always just to get an opportunity to go to college and get an education on scholarship and play sports while doing it. So when I was able to do that, that was sort of like what the mission was. So I'm proud of how I did that and the support that I had in doing it.
Was there a class that stood out as something that maybe you didn't expect to enjoy, but really became a passion once you started taking that class?
I don't know if I'd pinpoint it to one class, but I can go back to like different teachers that made learning fun, and it didn't really matter what the topic was, but there was always a way to enjoy that. And you hear it all the time, like everybody has different learning styles. And I think it was uncovering that through different teachers and experiences that kind of kept it all exciting in a way. So I don't know if I'd pinpoint to like one class specifically that stood out for the material, which is funny because now looking back, it's like I don't remember a ton of what I learned in college or
We'll
high
edit
school.
that out. You remember all of it. It stuck with you immediately.
Yeah.
But I think there's value to that with oftentimes it's not even the subject matter. It's the people leading that course that really sticks with you, right? And as a college student athlete, that's the coaches. The way that they lead, the way that they conduct themselves rubs off on you one way or another. And you had such a unique experience to come in as a freshman, see success immediately with a very successful defensive coordinator. Your head coach leaves. That defensive coordinator who had previously left to go to a big-time job and was coming back, you got to experience Andy Avalos as a head coach and a defensive coordinator. I have to imagine you were excited when he came back, but what was that difference like going from DC to head coach?
Yeah. I learned a ton from him. So he recruited me in high school too. So he was one of the guys who believed in me and saw my potential. And the way that he coaches, I think, is very similar to how I play. When he was our DC, it was, hey, let's focus on the details of our technique and our fundamentals that are going to make up the schemes and plays that I'm calling. And I was always a guy that was like, I need to get the technique right so I can make up for what I might lack in speed or strength and all of those things. But with the right technique, I could win it. So learning and seeing that from him on like an in the weeds perspective was awesome for my growth. And there were times where we would practice very intentionally with how our plays were scripted in different team periods preparing for a team. But we would call plays in practice against a certain play that the scout team was running. And then in the game, the same exact play would get called to the same play that the other team was running. And it took me back, and I was in awe of how I was like, how does he know? You know, how does Avalos know that we're going to practice this and then it's going to happen in the game? And one of those plays was the strip sack I had against Oregon in the bowl game. I came on a blitz, and Justin Herbert didn't even see me, and I popped the ball out, and I forget who recovered it, but we ran that play in practice that week, and he told me and us nickels, like, I'm going to call this play. You're going to come free, and you're going to get a sack. He's like, if you miss the sack, you owe me a plate lunch. If you get the sack, I'll buy you guys plate lunches. Sure enough, he calls the play. I come in untouched. And if you watch the play closely now, knowing that, it looks like I like slow down and chatter and don't just like come flying in to hit him. And it's not really that hard of a tackle, but the ball still pops out. And it was because I'm thinking, like, as I'm running at him, like, don't miss the sack. Like, break down, like, make this tackle, don't miss the sack, because he called it, I'm free, and now I need to come home and make it happen. But that was like that was basically my experience with him as a defensive coordinator. And so when he came back as the head coach, I was excited to see how, that would translate and sort of get that back from him. And I had an awesome experience with him as a head coach because I was an upperclassman, 5th year coming back, graduated from school, and now playing, my last season. So football was my focus and what I had time for. And I was mature enough now to see a lot of good leaders throughout my years, but having him as a head coach and the relationship that we had all the way back from high school, he helped me and watched me grow in my career. And then his year as a head coach, I feel like he let me learn and grow as now a leader. And there's a lot of autonomy to us as players and me personally as a player helping lead the guys, and our feedback with him for what we thought would be best for our side of the ball, our position. So I appreciated learning sort of multitude of things from him as a defensive coordinator and a head coach that I think impacted me today for how I operate.
We talked about your recruiting process. You've got all these family members that have been involved with college football at a big level. You're at Boise State. Your little brother's going through the recruiting process. Walk me through your role in he's recruiting, and what are you thinking while he's got this offer from Boise State, considering other places?
Yeah.
How did that all go down?
Yeah, for me, like, I was honestly just big brother fan of his at that point. I had the opportunity to watch him play high school at the same high school that I played at and step into his own role. So it was just fun for me to support him in that way and cheer him on through his games. And I wasn't necessarily telling him like, hey, you have to go chase this offer down or look into this one. I didn't really give him any advice on the recruiting process. more so, hey, keep doing great in your games, or like I saw this, maybe work on that, and we just kind of trade notes on like football and school and brother level. So the recruiting thing was kind of back of mind, but like the coaches here, they always checked in with me and were like, "Hey, how's your brother doing? Like, he ready to come be a Bronco?" You know, because they'd gotten to know my family over the years and sort of, I guess, knew what they'd be getting in him and in a family, and so they had offered him because he earned it and deserved it and was an all-state player in high school. And then he had an injury his junior year. He hurt his knee, and a lot of the other schools who were recruiting him pulled back and said, we'll wait and see, and we're not quite sure. And so at the end of his high school journey, Boise State was still there. And I think me being here and the coaches knowing um, everything about me and my family, they're like, no, we're gonna stick through it with him, and we know who he is. We believe in him as a player, and we know you guys. So I'm thankful that I was here to be able to do that. And then when he came in as a freshman, it was COVID 2020, so even more so that I was here for him and knew the place, knew the people, and helped bridge the gap of not seeing people and not being able to go places and be here for him in that way. So it was definitely a blessing in disguise, but it all worked out in the best of ways and made it easy for our family to travel a long way to see both of us and watch us play and help us along our journeys.
Got one more whiskey. Okay, so this is Larceny Barrel Proof. Very good. I enjoy this. I'm a little worried for you because this is a big step up, right? Barrel proof when it comes to whiskey just means it's been taken out of the barrel and it's not been diluted. So many whiskeys, Basil Hayden included, they dilute with water to get it to a lower proof, which makes it a little more approachable, a little easier to drink. This is straight from the barrel, has not been diluted with water, anywhere from, say, 110 to 135 proof. Mindful, this was an 80 proof. We're jumping up. Let's see what this guy is.
There was no like slow transition.
No. Joe wanted you to just experience the extremes. Yeah. The horseshoe is the middle. So we started with the middle, which is the tough place to go. We didn't ramp it up gently.
So let me do this. I'll go back to the middle for a sec.
Brilliant. Mm-hmm. So that's the next step up from the Basil Hayden as far as proof is concerned. Then we go to this particular barrel proof. It's different based off the batch, right? But this is 125 proof. So that's 75 proof more. I shouldn't say that. Math is not my strong suit. I went to a state school. 125 versus 80. Can you do the math? You're much smarter than I am.
45.
There we go. Not 85. 45 is what we're after. So Larceny Barrel Proof. Again, I think it helps to have an idea of what the tasting notes are from the manufacturer, just to see if you're anywhere close. So we'll see if you get any of these. We are talking rich molasses with notes of fig and hazelnut. So cheers to that.
Fig sounds tough.
Put it on a bumper sticker. Fig sounds tough.
That is not as punchy as I thought it was going to be.
It's for that high of a proof, for 125 proof.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I mean, it's definitely like...
It stays with you. You'll notice it. It's not like drinking water, that's for sure. But it's one of my favorite whiskeys.
Was hazelnut in? Did you say hazelnut was in there? What was the?
Let's see. I don't want to lie to you. They said hazelnut. You get that hazelnut?
That tastes like my latte from Starbucks. Yeah, hazelnut latte.
There you go. See, you're well on your way to becoming a whiskey snob, and I'm excited about it. Kekaula, we'll go to. You're still here, right? You come to Boise State. You don't even know Boise is in the state of Idaho. Now it's your home. You've gotten into commercial real estate. How does a student athlete get into commercial real estate? Why was that your career choice out of college? And what do you enjoy about it?
Yeah. First disclaimer, it wasn't my career choice going into college. So I know there's a lot of people who have the same experience. But I found it after my playing career finished up through great mentors and relationships that I built in my time as a student athlete with former players like Vinny Peretta, Sam McCaskill, all of these guys who pretty much did the same thing and stuck around after they finished playing and started planting their roots here in this community. So I'm very thankful for those guys. But I came into college thinking health sciences and thought I was going to be in healthcare. Reason being, I was passionate about helping and serving people and seeing people come in and then leave with a better quality of life and path forward. And I had that experience through high school and in points in college through injuries and nicks and different bruises and scars that you build being an athlete. And there was always the team of orthopedic guys and your physical therapist and your strength coaches that they all did that for me, and I built really fun and awesome relationships to this day with those guys, going through kind of that like shared struggle and challenge together of getting back on the field and being yourself again, or a better version of yourself even if you can. So I really wanted to do that for other people, so I studied health sciences with a one-to-one correlation of like healthcare. I can help. They come in with a broken ankle, I fix the broken ankle, send them out, and better, boom, good to go. It's not that straightforward. And so I go through my college career, finish up, and now I'm like, all right, time to go, fix the broken ankles. It's like, I don't like the broken ankles. It's not fun to be in the OR room or be the hands-on care guy. And so it was like the reality, okay, this is what my career in life is going to be. And I didn't see myself sort of in the day-to-day passions of healthcare. But I was always curious and passionate about real estate. And I knew that successful people owned and understood real estate. And was also grateful for an internship that I had with Elliot Hoyt my last semester in school. And so got to be with him on the residential side and helped him with some marketing and saw the behind the scenes there from another successful former Bronco who's in the community doing great things. And so now I'm sitting here like, okay, I have the passion for helping and serving people um, and helping solve problems with them and do all the stuff. And then I also have this passion of real estate. And I think real estate's great for building the communities that we're in and giving us a place to come and shoot things like this and grab a bourbon and go grab some food and do all the stuff, right? Live, work, play kind of thing. And then with help of Vinny and Sam and some of those guys, like connected me with the right people to ask the right questions, I found commercial real estate and was like, this brings all of those worlds together. I'm still helping and serving people, but instead of doing it through fixing an injury or a sickness, now I'm helping do that through real estate and what their needs are for themselves personally or for their business, and get to be a part of really cool things that build Boise, right? And without the downtown skyline, like there's no downtown Boise. So being on the front end of that and really learning and understanding it with great partners and clients and people who I respect and trust and learn a ton from is how I came to where we're at now.
Walk me through your process because, full disclosure, we're shooting this at ID43 Creative. You are the commercial broker that made this happen.
Yeah.
And I remember Joel, who's our managing director, says, we got Kekaula. He's going to show us a bunch of different locations. We're excited about it. And it was almost like you curated it perfectly to be like, this one's good, but it misses here. This one's better, but it misses here. And we walk into this space, and I look at Joel, and I'm like, you're going to sign up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to say no to this. So how do you...
He didn't tell me yes that fast, for the record.
Good. But how do you curate all these locations, and what goes into that decision-making process where you're trying to find the right home for the right people?
Yeah. I think first it always starts with understanding what the need is or what's the problem and challenge that we're trying to solve. Why do we need the space? What are you guys looking for? What's the goal? What's the plan? And it was great working with Joel and the team to learn that. And like, that's a prime example, a relationship that I had for a long time. Joel and I have a great relationship, and he was a big part of what my journey was, landing here day one all the way through to the end. So having that shared understanding and trust and relationship to shoot each other straight, be honest about, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's why, yes, no, maybe so. And then once you understand that, now it's my job to understand what the real estate is that's going to fit those and for what reasons. But it's also not my job to make the decision. So I don't know if what I think about the space is going to fit exactly what the decision makers are deciding. So showing a variety of different product types and locations and places that at the core fit what the need is. Um, but then there's always the nuances of how the space functions for a business or a person. So it was fun to drive up by the airport and show some space and be downtown and walk a few blocks and look at something else, all the while sort of factoring in what worked, what didn't work. And then it's just that's what I like about it is because it's still a people business. And so it's a constant feedback loop of like, okay, this didn't work. Here's why. Maybe we pivot this way. And being a part of that process is fun for me because now it's like I'm on the team again, working with whoever it is to make that decision. And yeah, when we came in here, it was a great opportunity. And I had the relationship with the landlord. So I was able to say, hey, I know that this is what the details are of the space. Here's some of the history on it. I think this would be great for you guys, but let's go in there and take a look and see. And so being in here now, this is a byproduct of why it's so much fun for me because the space did not look like this not that long ago. And then ID43 comes in and puts their touch on it and puts their spin on it and brings life and energy to the real estate to make it what it is now.
Be honest with me. We looked at 5 locations that day. I felt when we walked in, I saw the eyes get bigger of everybody on our team. So I was like, oh, this is definitely the one we're going to go with. Were you that confident? And if so, why?
I can't be because then I get a lot of broken hearts day to day.
Sure.
So you're never that confident until like things are signed. I've seen a lot of deals happen where everything feels good and then something happens and next thing you know, it's like, actually, it's not that good. So you never quite fully celebrated until the deal is done. But I knew like, okay, this feels like what the right fit would be for all the reasons that we know it ended up being the fit. So then it's fun to like put the process in motion after that, right? Seeing space is just like the very beginning. And then there's so much more that happens over a couple week or month period or sometimes years periods, depending on what the transaction is, where there's work to be done in that process. So the reason why I enjoy real estate too is because there's so many different steps to then like reach the finish line. And then at that point, my job's done, but then like the work begins, for the business. And then you see it all come to life like the plan was. So it's always something new. And along all of those steps, I was happy to be helping out and doing it with you guys and doing it with Joel and leading the charge and making sure that it all went as smooth as possible, which I hope it did.
It's been unbelievable. I think for anyone that's not seen the space, it's worth taking a look at. Hopefully we can show some video of just how massive this space is. But kudos to you. This is not a spot that I would have looked at and thought that's the right fit, but it's been absolutely the perfect place. So we'll go into like this new world of college athletics. You had an unbelievable career. You've got a great career now, but I still feel bad for you because you were like a year and a half away from major money in NIL payments. And I don't mean to rub that in, but when you look at...
Is the bourbon free?
We won't charge you for that.
Yeah,
yes, you're safe. You're safe
good,
there. But when you look at your career, let's say you were a modern day athlete where you were making significantly more than you made when you were a player. Give me one thing you would have spent money on in a very responsible, smart way, and one thing that you would have absolutely wasted money on.
So this is like if I go back and I'm now 20.
If you're currently a starter at Boise State, you're making NIL payments accordingly.
Yep.
What do you truly believe you would have spent smartly on and terribly on?
I would have bought a house, and I've had that as a goal from when I was still in college, like figure out a way to get into home ownership, and it goes back to the real estate thing. So I would have found a way to purchase a house, and it probably wouldn't have been by myself, but I would have brought something to the table to be able to do that. So that would have been my smart purchase. My not smart purchase probably would have been some kind of jewelry piece of sorts. Like you're playing defensive back and you got to have some kind of earrings or some kind of chain or some kind of bling to in the same way like your eye black, you're putting on, the costume and outfit to go do your job. So I probably would have bought some jewelry,
Okay,
like a
well,
nice watch or something.
well, tell me about that because Simmons Fine Jewelry, sponsor of the
Mm-hmm.
show, unbelievable product line, bunch of different options. What is on the bucket list that you don't have now that you would like to have as far as jewelry is concerned?
I think a nice watch would be great. I don't really have one right now. It's like a Garmin watch, and then like a couple fossils. But watches are great because you can sort of subtly fit them in with everything. But every time you look down at the time, you realize probably how much time you spent working to make that happen. So just a constant reminder of like, okay, you work hard for it, you get to enjoy it, but also like time is valuable. So get back out there and use it the right way and doing the right things with the right people. That'd be a fun one.
Love it. You
I'm
got
in the
to.
market.
We'll let them know. We'll let them know after the show. It's the
Yeah,
first call we make.
100%.
So, Kekaula, when I was going over your biography before today's show, your list of awards is like 5 pages deep. You probably don't even know the amount of awards you won. But is there one award you got that really stands out to you for a specific reason?
Um, I would say either the class award or the Campbell Trophy. I wasn't actually the winner of, but I was just a semifinalist for. I think both of those awards exemplify a well-rounded human being, and your character matters, your education matters, how you treat people matters, and how you show up and play as an athlete matters. So it encompasses all of the things that I value and prioritize. Um, and being able to just have that recognized lets you know that you're doing things right and continue on the path with the habits and the process that are working. And it's fun today to still get to be a part of the Campbell Trophy, which is kind of a living and breathing thing where one there's the ceremony where they announce the winner that happens in Vegas with the NFF. So I've been to that dinner to get to experience it, not as a finalist for the award when I was playing because of COVID, so I wasn't able to go. But yeah, all the finalists get to go, so I would have been there for that. But I've gotten to experience it after the fact, and it's a really cool honoring by the National Football Foundation. So seeing that and like really understanding what the magnitude of that trophy is and the people in the room. There's Hall of Fame players and coaches and athletic directors and guys who all give a standing ovation for the winner of that trophy because they know what it takes to do that. So that one I'm proud of, and being a finalist for that, I get invited every year to go to the Campbell Trophy Summit on Stanford's campus last weekend in July, and haven't missed that since I knew about it and got invited to it because it's a great room of men, and some have their spouses, some don't, but everybody that shares a very similar mindset and journey. And whether it's guys who played 30 years before I did or guys who are just finishing up now, there's a shared understanding of what it takes to be in that room, and the people that we get to meet and presenters we get to hear from that weekend is special and one that I value a lot, and I'm thankful that I get to be a part of.
I think it's safe to say you are the best of the best when it comes to former student athletes. And then I don't mean to put you in a position where you have to speak for every other student athlete, but as we look at the modern day college football, there's some complications, to put it lightly. If I put you in charge of the NCAA today, what changes do you make that, quote, fixes some of the problems we have in college football? From your purview, what needs to change about NCAA football today?
That's the question that, well, first, I'm very grateful for your compliment. Thank you. That's the question that if my answer solves it, I should get paid a lot of money for it because there's no right answer to it. Um, but I do think the way that it's evolved now, there needs to be some professional formatting to the way that things are handled, whether it's um, how contracts are administered or who the people reviewing and helping represent people are accredited, or how the money is allocated or capped. I think there needs to be more tie-in and influence to the NFL's model of um, players association or union to stand up on behalf of what the players' needs are, and then salary cap of sorts for what teams are able to spend on their roster, um, to level the playing field in a sense and have an opportunity that doesn't cut too many people out of it. So I think there needs to be a road that goes that way with a little more structure to it. It felt like we went from very structured NCAA to COVID happening and then like no structure after that because everything came to the forefront and happened very quickly for how eligibility got changed and how the transfer portal got opened up and how um, paying players for their name, image, and likeness and now revenue sharing, how all of that, it just happened so fast and loosely. I say that all with the other side of it of like, yes, I absolutely feel that players should get paid for who they are and what they represent and what they bring to the university and the economy and the town that they're in. So I think paying players is good, but also like anything good in, excess is not going to be good after a certain amount of time. So figuring out like what the boundary is, cap it with not getting excessive in either of directions, what I'd say.
I got two more questions for you. Before we get there, you've had three very high quality bourbons. Are you any closer to being a whiskey fan, or are we got work to do?
I'm closer than when I sat down. I will honestly say that. And I think it's because I've never sat down and tried multiple in one sitting. It was more like one, I usually never order it. Two, there's only one option if there is one. But so having a palate here to be able to go off of and have the hazelnut with the vanilla and the
Look at you.
brown cinnamon sugar and then the
It's like watching your child
100%.
grow up and
Yeah,
before
I
your
got, like,
eyes. This is
10
incredible.
years. Yeah. I have a beard like you and I come back tomorrow. It'd be great.
Kekaula, I do want to go into your travels. That's one of the things that's brought you a lot of joy since you've graduated. You've been to Japan, you've been to Spain. Obviously, you're from Hawaii originally. So we'll just stick to those three locations. Those are iconic travel destinations for a lot of people that may or may not have been able to go there. If you were to give one piece of advice at each location, like what will you enjoy the most at those three locations? Japan, Spain, Hawaii. What are the things people would enjoy the most and why they should go to those travel destinations?
Yeah. So I'll start with let's go Japan. Japan would be um I almost want to say the food, but I'm gonna say the food for like all of them. So I'll blanket.
That's okay. That's fair.
Yeah, I'll blanket and say the food, right? Because they're all gonna be so different in all their ways. So like lean into the food in all the places. A lot of the reason I enjoy traveling is because I can eat so many different things in all those places. So start with the food first and foremost, no questions asked. But Japan, like I would say appreciate the detail of the culture and respect of the people. Like when you go there, they're so efficient in just their day-to-day life, the train system and it coming on the exact minute at the minute, and the way that um, you can get in and out of different cities with such ease, and the people that you go to whatever city you're in are so respectful and so accommodating, and it's their pride and joy to present to you in the best way possible their culture and give you the best experience that you have because it's hey, do your best and respect the person and craft. So I would say appreciate the detail of culture and respect of the people. You can go to a ton of places in Japan, which we got to do fortunately, and that was like consistent throughout all of it. So that's super fun. Um, Barcelona, I'd say um, the architecture I was blown away with. Anthony Gaudi is a name that a lot of people know, and there in Spain, in Barcelona, where we were at, that's his neck of the woods where he has so much work and it kind of lives and breathes throughout the city in modern day today. But looking back at all of his work, um, the Sagrada Familia church there blew me away. It's been under construction for like 150 years or something crazy like that, and is not finished because of how detailed he was and the story that he wanted to portray and the craftsmanship that he had. And we loved and appreciated a lot of the architecture and the way that the city was laid out there. Don't forget about the food, like I said, food in every stop. Um, and then Hawaii, I would say, gosh, it's hard because being from there, you want to share everything about it all, But I would just encourage people to get out of Waikiki and downtown Honolulu. That I'd say just let's just start there. Go somewhere else to where the locals are at and from. Go there in a respectful way. Go there to be ready to learn and understand about who we are and where we come from, and we're happy to share that. But there's so much more outside of Waikiki, which is all a lot of people get to experience. So I'd encourage them to branch out to other islands and see how each of those are unique. And there's just a ton of diversity there, island to island, town to town. So lean into that.
You mentioned Spain. You were there with your better half, who also happens to be a former Boise State student athlete. Would you say you're even the best athlete in your relationship?
It's competitive now. It depends what game we're playing. Pickleball, 100%. We get back on the beach volleyball court? No, not a chance. But no, it's been awesome. We obviously have known each other for a long time, being in school together. So we've been friends for a long time, and it's fun now to have a relationship with somebody that shares so many common interests and understands what it's like to be a student athlete, and sort of how that builds the identity of what motivates you and what keeps you going or who you are. So I'm not gonna say that, but I'll say we both of us would show up to compete for it for sure. If you put a game or something in front of us, we would both be there.
Aggressive do board game nights get?
Very
Can either of
aggressive.
you lose gracefully, or are you both terrible
100%,
losers?
Yeah, I'm probably a worse loser than she is. So I just make sure that I win when we go into those situations. We have learned through board games or through playing sports together that we are definitely better on a team together than we are not on the team together, because when we have to compete against each other, it's not very fun, but we do great when we're on the same team. So I think that's a good thing for the relationship, knowing that we're a better team than not.
There you go.
We keep that going.
That's a great way to put it. You're rocking the 90 proof hat. You're a golfer yourself. Walk me through. This became a hot button topic with DJ Schramm, surprisingly, but golf is something you do as a hobby. Of your former teammates, who is the best and the worst golfer?
Self-admittedly, I haven't played with all of those guys. If you ask my brother, he's played with a lot more of those guys. So he could give you probably a better, more well sought out answer for the experiences he's had with those guys. But the best guys I've played with, DJ Schramm was one of them. Riley Smith is really good too. And then my brother's gotten great as well. So I'd put those three guys in the same conversation for myself.
I respect that you're not going low, but you don't have anyone that stands out as a bad golfer of the bunch?
Probably myself. Am I going to be the most...
That's why you were a team captain right there.
Am I going to be the most fun golfer, though? 100%. Will I have bourbon in the flask? Probably.
I like it. I like it. Before we go, this has been fantastic, Kekaula. We appreciate your time. Camera's right there. You got an opportunity. Any message you want to Bronco Nation, what do they need to hear from a former player?
Yeah, Bronco Nation, as a former player, you guys are what makes this community special. And I think we definitely, when we are student athletes, feel the love and support from this community, so much so that most of us end up becoming a part of the community. And so keep showing up, keep being consistent in your support and your love for the student athletes. Understand that the student athletes are still humans and going through a lot of their own adversity and challenges and growing as people. But as long as we now are all there to support them, I think there's a ton of value that they see in that, and it'll be reciprocated. So stay with it and keep supporting and showing up.
Brilliant. Thank you as always. I appreciate your time, Kekaula.
This was great. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.